China has figured out the bottom line, how to mobilize its resources to achieve its priority targets. And the number one priority target has been rapid economic development, and they've achieved it better, sooner than even they imagined, nor did anyone else outside foresee or even keep up with. When I began to pay attention to the Chinese economy, which in my case was in the 1960s and 70s, for 2 or 3 decades after that, every piece of work, and I wrote my master's thesis on the Chinese economy at Stanford, where I did it. You always were told, here's the statistic you're looking for, but you can't count on the Chinese. I mean, they're probably making it up. No matter what their achievement was, including achievements like going to major cities in China. I don't know if you've been, and seeing that these are very modern cities with rapid transit that's better than that of the United States and so on. No matter what people saw, they needed to say that the statistics are manipulated, are hyped in one way or another. Now people have stopped doing it because, I mean, in the end, you can see what they're capable of doing. They have the equivalent of Alphabet, Google, Apple, Intel, all have their counterparts in China, plus an explosion of small companies. By the way, I meant to mention that one of the nice things that DeepSeek shows Americans who are willing to look at it is that the notion that there's a significant difference between socialism and communism, because communism provides incentives and capitalism provides incentives, and capitalism doesn't regulate, and capitalism therefore stimulates efficiency. That China, if you assume it's socialist, which is what it calls itself, socialism, well, yeah, obviously, they're not holding back entrepreneurialism. DeepSeek, like many other, is an entrepreneur. DeepSeek, as an enterprise, was formed in May of 2023. It's a 1.5-year-old new startup.
Wow.
The Chinese call it a startup. They borrow the American name, a startup. So, and there's lots of companies like that. There's about 30, if I have it right, about 30 companies working on electric vehicles. So it's not monopoly companies the way we have here. It's actually easier to start a business and to grow a business. I can't tell you how many people that I talk to in the United States have what the French call an idée fixe, a fixed notion that one of the virtues of capitalism relative to socialism is that it spawns and favors innovation.
I would have been one of those people.
Yes, it spawns and favors efficiency. It allows entrepreneurs to. The Chinese do all of that. They always have, but where did this come from? This is pure propagandistic. Even if it had a grain of truth, I'm not aware it does, but it may, that I'm not aware of. It's not some fixed, it's silly. This guy who started DeepSeek, May of 23, he had a background of he had a technical background, but he was also active in finance. He straddled these two. And he saw an opportunity, and he got together a group of engineering type, recent graduates, as I told you. Now, I made a little firm and went to work on a project. That's what he did, which is the story of a startup in Silicon Valley, multiplies 50 times or 1,000 times, whatever it is. But you have that there too. And it's common sense if you think about it. The Chinese prioritize economic growth. They're practical people in the same way Americans were. So they said, of course, one of the things we have to do is look at the United States, figure out how they did it, and go them one better if we can. Everybody does that. And that's what they did. But they have enough people and enough resources and enough capability to mobilize them to do it. So in a way, they figured it out. The stilted old socialism is clunky and cumbersome, and the government is everywhere. It's childish. It's that head in the sand mentality. If things don't develop the way you thought they would, then you ought to go back to the drawing board and wonder about your assumptions, because you thought this, but this happened. All right? Socialism isn't innovative. Okay. The Chinese have the best electric cars. The Chinese have new AI. The Chinese, they innovated. Well, they copy. Yes, there was some copying going on, no doubt. They stole some of the technology, probably. But, if you know anything about history, that's really not relevant. Everybody who can steals. Everybody who can copies. But the Chinese have done that, and the folks in Belgium haven't. And the folks in Italy haven't, and the folks in Germany haven't, and the folks in England haven't. Whoa. And the Americans thought they were years ahead, and then it turns out they're not, etc., etc., etc. Then it's time to ask yourself,